All right, welcome back. We're the Bourbon Junkies. He's Dan, I'm Sean. Tonight, we're going to talk about things.
Tell you about MGP, Brown Forman, and New Riff.
Oh, I don't know about New Riff.
The New Riff one is good news.
So, first off, we got MGP collapsing.
Well,
I mean, wait, what?
They're
Being sued
yeah
by their
because
own
their
stockholders.
fell down. This is all alleged.
Hearsay is what
Might
it would
be
be
a class
called.
action at this point because if you bought MGP stock in the past 6 months, I believe, you're allowed to file an action.
Yes, because you were going off potentially, as long as we say potentially, I think we're in the free and clear. Allegedly falsified like earnings reports and stuff like that. I do believe their CEO has stepped down. Correct? Okay.
Their CFO is their new CEO.
Doesn't that seem weird? The person that would be falsifying would be the CEO.
Well, it depends on who provided the information.
Yes.
The CFO could have been like, don't do that.
But in 6 months, their stock has fallen 50%.
Yeah,
It was like $90. I think it's down
91.
to like 38. Oh, lower than when
91 was the peak.
Yep.
Happened in August.
Ooh.
34 was the low. Happened 2 weeks ago. Week ago.
Ouch.
They're back up to like 35 or 36.
Yeah.
So, MGP. So what happened was, inside the industry, COVID happens. All of barrel production, all of whiskey production, all legacy invest $1 billion each.
There was a barrel shortage. 2 years
Yes,
ago.
that's true. Yeah.
People couldn't get barrels to put their whiskey in because they're making so much.
Yeah.
Everyone's forecasting sales on sales on sales.
And MGP barrels and everybody else's. This part is not at all specific to MGP. The whole market did it, where all of the barrel prices went up. We were paying 2x what we would pay now for older whiskey. We were paying for younger whiskey then. And then what happens is we're post-COVID. We're back to like people's pretty normal lives, seemingly. People who have jobs like normal again for the most part, hopefully. And people start consuming less whiskey than they were, and barrel prices start to fall. And then people like us, NDPs or people who source whiskey, are buying less barrels because they don't need as much because they're not producing this.
But there are a lot more NDPs than there ever have been.
That's true too.
So a lot more people even buying less is still a lot of barrels.
Yeah. And so all of this takes place. Apparently what had happened was people start buying MGP. MGP is publicly traded, which is where like it gets more complicated. MGP is publicly traded. Their stock market pricing is going up and they look great. And then because we're in what some people would call a glut, some people just say the boom is over, some people say whatever. I think what we're doing is just normalizing now. I think we're getting to like, it's like people like go outside and do stuff again. Everybody's not stuck in their house all day, all year.
I still think it would be much more elevated than it was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But it definitely has tapered off, more plateaued than I think just cliffed.
Yep. And it just can't go, nothing goes up forever. It just doesn't super work that way. But I went and read the lawsuit, and the lawsuit said, the problem is that MGP apparently was telling investors that demand was still high, that the barrel market was not falling or crashing. And that if it did, MGP was putting into place like fallbacks and security measures so that if that happens, they are not affected the same way.
Yeah.
MGP apparently said, maybe, according to the lawsuit I read.
Maybe, allegedly.
They said that they were actually, unlike everybody else that was selling barrels wholesale, and we're not seeing the same trend. We literally have barrels that were cheaper, that were distilled by MGP and stored at MGP from brokers, and they were cheaper and older than I was getting quotes and pricing direct from MGP for us.
Yes.
And so
what that means is brokers were seeing the trend and pricing accordingly.
Following.
MGP was not.
Correct.
So kind of
they're
what
selling
they're saying.
less
They
whiskey.
were saying what they were. Like, hey, we're not going to follow the market.
Right.
We'll be fine because people are still going to want MGP.
Yeah.
But people were going to brokers and going, well, you're a lot cheaper. We just go through you.
Yeah.
Why would we go through them?
Yeah. Then the CEO steps down. Like after all of this comes out, their stock still isn't like, I mean, it's literally a third of the price it was 4 months ago. But the problem is if you don't follow wholesale trends, the people that buy, consumers don't buy wholesale. They don't buy barrels of whiskey. So if you're not following the wholesale trend, then nobody will buy that inventory from you, especially if you're wholesaling to people who are allowed to wholesale.
Wholesale is also hundreds to thousands of barrels. It's not tens and 20s.
It could be 4.
Yeah.
We buy wholesale from MGP. We could buy one pallet.
We're also in the vast minority of people that were in their wholesale line.
When I get pricing from them and get pricing from a broker, and then I find out that whiskey from the broker's stored at him, I'm going to transfer and bond that from MGP.
Yes.
Well, then why am I up paying? Because it wasn't like it was stored somewhere worse. It wasn't like it was in a worse climate or condition.
Yeah.
Like
it wasn't in a shack by a river.
Yeah, it wasn't in a cellar vineyard, underground for 5 or 6 years. And so
been there, done that.
It was one of those things where it's like, if you don't follow the trend, this was the same for the brokers. Brokers would have suffered the same fate if they don't follow the trend. If Tome and Brindiamo and like the big name brokers all keep their prices high and MGP keeps their prices high and other legacies come down and all the other brokers come down. Now MGP and Tome are in the same boat.
Yes.
But Tome and Brindiamo came down. It's just one of those things where it's like, this seems like the simplest, in my brain, this seems like the simplest business thing of all time. The market's soft. The prices have to come down.
Yes.
You got to live in your heyday and you got to have all these people buy all these barrels and they were way overpriced and all of us understood and knew that, but we did it anyways.
Yep.
And listen, MGP makes...
They'll be fine.
Some MGP whiskey is absolutely phenomenal. I know that 95.5 rye barrels right now, like the bottom on pricing of those has fallen off of the planet. They're worth so little comparatively. And that's not, none of that is MGP's fault. That is not I wouldn't blame that on any individual brand or person.
Anyways, I think that's a long ways to say that MGP is in a very unique situation of hurt.
It's unfortunate, yeah.
They'll be fine.
They're too big to not be fine. They'll be perfectly fine.
Yep.
They also have, like Penelope moves a lot of whiskey.
Yes, they do.
And now
they're doing great.
That was a really good acquisition. Yeah. And
look at how well received like the estate collection and stuff like that just went. Not small volume on a lot of the stuff that they're putting out right now. They are moving a shit ton of MGP for MGP.
That was definitely that was like a great call.
Come to find out, they couldn't have had a better acquisition.
Yeah.
They were like, who is selling
Penelope
the most?
moves a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Penelope and Nulu and Smoke Wagon were selling a lot of MGP. And so I do think it's one of those things where like I would assume they picked Penelope. I don't know if they talked to Smoke Wagon or Nulu, but they obviously chose and purchased Penelope. And clearly it's been a good thing for Penelope. It's been a good thing for consumers. And it seemingly probably has been a good thing hopefully it's been a good thing for MGP.
All right, let's talk about something happier.
Okay.
Or do you have more on that?
No.
Okay. Finally, I think this has been 3 years since I think we originally told this when we were at New Riff 3 years ago doing our second pick.
Yep.
They said we were picking from 4 and 5 year barrels.
Yep.
And they said, or maybe they were all 4. I don't know.
They were all.
And they said the pick program is slated to get older in the following years. So when you guys come back next year, we'll have higher age elevated stuff for you guys. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. And then they just stayed 4.
Yeah.
They've been great.
Now,
I mean, all the ones that we've either gotten sent to us or had samples or tried just single barrels off the like grocery shelf.
Single barrels on shelves from New Riff are amazing.
So I'm not knocking their 4-year product. I was just very excited. Now they have announced that they're doing 6-year picks in their program. Phenomenal. Excited. That makes me want to go back and do more.
Yeah, me too. I would definitely, because I would imagine that they were probably putting around 6-year in their single shelf products.
I guarantee it.
Their single barrel.
And they tasted
we keep blinding that against other stuff, and it's like keeps doing really, really well.
$60. And like phenomenal.
I don't know if they're like, hey, we'll dabble some 6ers in, and everything else is 4, or if everything this year's 6.
You're getting like 3 that are like 4 and 5, and then we'll throw like 1 6-year in there or something like that.
I know, like I think it was the first time we were at Starlight, they had mentioned that their goal was to have 8-year bourbon in their pick program, and everything in their pick program to be 8 someday.
Yep.
And then it's like, well, but they're still continuing their pick program.
Yep.
So what they're doing is just holding stuff back. So they're doing less picks inevitably to hold some stuff back so that eventually they can do this. I would imagine New Riff went through the same growing pain of like, dude, we're doing a lot of single barrels. And I think they probably still are doing plenty. But we're doing a lot of single barrels. Shit, we want it to be older. Shit, we got to figure out how to keep whiskey while we're selling whiskey.
You got to cap the program,
Yeah.
and you got to start telling people no, which is difficult.
Especially for a brand
smaller
starting
brand.
up, that they're like, we could sell the barrel or we could sit on the barrel so we could have money to produce more.
Yep.
Or we could wait 2 more
balance
years.
of that, I think even here for us is very hard.
Yeah, it is. The less barrels you have, the harder it is. 100%. I mean, inevitably. So, in New Riff was intentionally waiting for their own product, not sourcing.
They're in distribution, so they have, I wouldn't say a gigantic footprint or anything like that.
They do.
But
they're the first craft distillery in all 50 states right now. Happened like a month ago. What? Yep, they're in 50 states in the country.
Good for you guys.
They're like
truly mean that.
And like guys. They're in all of it's their own whiskey. They waited to put that 4-year out, and we bought that, and we're like, it's pretty good. It's 4 years old. It's pretty good. The bottled and bond, but their 4-year or their 6-year distillate, or however old these single barrels that are on shelves are, bat way above their like the New Riff name. Yeah. They like compete with legacy bottles legitimately, and they're $60-ish. And so it's one of those things where it's like, if we can go pick 6 years at New Riff, and these are going to compete with Jack Daniels, and these are going to compete with Old Foresters. It's like you try like the New Riff, the malted wheat was amazing at 6 years old. The sherry one was amazing at 6 years old. Like that was
one that I know they held back because I think they had a 7-year, and I think they plan to have an 8. As well.
Which is awesome. Like I love that. I love how New Riff's doing it. I think they're like almost in their own little lane, their own space, and I think it's so fucking cool.
Which is apparently a very large space.
Yeah, they're awesome. Their bottle's cool. I have nothing. It sounds like they changed their pick program.
Yeah.
I don't know that there will be any negatives attached to New Riff if this is the
price is good,
model we're on.
The whiskey and the glass is good.
Yeah.
The glass is pretty cool too.
The glass
and
is
a lot
cool.
of it's very unique. All right, on to sad news.
Yeah, this is the worst part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's not even close. Brown Forman's laying off 12% of their staff. Which is
closing a cooperage.
650 people.
They closed an entire cooperage.
Not yet, but they are going to.
Yeah. Which is wild because we talked about there being a barrel shortage 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we got enough.
This will be the problem with bourbon is it has to be American oak.
Well, there could be some legislative change on what is the designator of bourbon. Like using a new char barrel every time is definitely killing the market.
They would have to do something like
change that. Go refire a barrel or whatever.
Yeah.
Just say it has to be a new fire barrel.
Right.
Like you take a barrel that's been used for 4 years, dump it, refire it.
Like a rebuild barrel.
Yeah. Or like, change up.
Who did that? Was that this year? The Parker's.
Yes.
Wasn't it rebuilt or reconditioned or whatever they call it?
I think it was cognac.
Yeah.
And then they took out some of the staves and then put in different staves.
Okay.
So it was
they're just reconditioning barrels.
Yes.
Like, it feels like there's probably going to have to be a break at some point because Buffalo Trace and the Brown. Okay, so Sazerac, Brown Forman, Campari,
MGP still.
MGP. Like, those 4 alone probably
Jack Daniels.
I said Brown Forman.
Oh, okay.
I was
just
doing
Jack
umbrellas.
Daniels themselves.
Yeah, but just between those umbrellas, that's millions of barrels a year.
I mean, every time we've gone to Buffalo Trace and saw the barrel house, like just that line of barrels being unloaded continuously
every day, all
semis,
the time.
Just and they're staging a couple hundred barrels at a time, and they're still unloading them in as fast as they can with a fork truck and putting them on a conveyor, filling them up, filling them up.
Closing the cooperage. Now, what they're trying to do is reel in costs, clearly. Closing the cooperage, Brown Forman said this on record, 70 to 80 million a year operating cost.
That's so much higher than I
thought.
thought.
Dude, I didn't expect even half of that, truthfully. 70 to 80 million a year is how much they save closing that one cooper. Now, Brown Forman will switch to sourcing barrels now.
Yeah.
They have to, because they're getting rid of their cooper.
I mean, can they not just use whoever makes barrels for anyone else in their envelope?
It sounds like that cooper makes barrels for almost everyone in their envelope.
That seems like a fucking problem.
Yeah. 70 to 80 million, and now they will
Jack
source.
Daniels
They'll just go to
ISC. 3,000 barrels a day.
Yeah, and Jack doesn't. Yeah, I don't know that Jack had
6 days a week, baby.
I don't
operational.
know. This is the thing I could not find anywhere. I cannot find exactly which Brown Forman brands consume from Louisville's
Okay,
cooper.
that's fair. Because they have 2 cooperages, I thought.
Well, Forster has like a small one in their own building.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they can make their own barrels there if they want, if they have to.
But I think the production speed of that line
is way slower than their production whiskey-wise. But
I mean, you can take a tour through that one, and you're watching them build like one at a time.
And the thing is it's going to be offset by them now purchasing, right? But they'll have to go to somebody huge like ISC, or they'll buy
wonder
another
if
Cooper.
Production slows down for them then too.
I don't know.
You'd think it would have to.
I'd imagine everybody has reeled back production a little.
Yeah. I honestly do believe because of Jack Daniels, that is probably hurting their envelope the most. If they believe tariffs are going to be a big play.
Problem.
Because of how much Jack Daniels is exported.
Yeah.
They're in like, what they say,
well,
like
they plan on
countries or something like that?
They plan on upping their exportation.
Yeah.
So the other thing is they said they think they can sell the cooperage for $30 million. So they think that they'll save 70, 80,
yeah.
and then in the sale get 30. So we're talking $110, $120 million swing in a year.
It only depends on how much it costs them to source barrels.
Yeah, I mean, they'll just,
I mean, obviously, someone's done the math for them to make it make sense.
They'll I mean, everybody works with ISC at that size.
Yeah.
They'll go to ISC and be like, hey, we need like 1 kajillion barrels this year. How much do we have to, how little can we pay for them? And ISC will be like, well, you know, less than we have to pay for them, you know, because we buy 12 barrels at a time and they buy 400,000 at a time. You know what I mean? Cooperage is set to close in April this year. It is 648 jobs, supposedly. Now, Brown Forman did say that everybody getting late, because it's a layoff technically, everybody getting laid off is getting severance.
That's nice.
And then they're helping, like,
relocate?
They're supposed to be helping with, like, finding people new jobs.
Nice.
Which, if they're doing that, is like, at least you're doing what you can to help the people that you just had to get rid of. But
not like the place down the road that just, that restaurant that just closed and just locked the doors on their employees.
Didn't even tell their employees, yeah. The only other news that I had was the Whistle Pig CEO quit too.
Oh, really?
Oh, really quick, the MGP CEO, I forgot about this part. The MGP CEO came from Lux in the acquisition. He's been the CEO of MGP for 1 calendar year.
Ran it in the ground, made $30 million though.
Stepped
got the fuck out.
Stepped out.
Yeah.
Like, that's wild to me. The
good for him.
But yeah, he came from, apparently he was with Lux for like 27 or something. So he's with Lux forever. So that doesn't look good.
No.
Because that was brand loyalty.
You got to make enough in that year though to just not need a job ever again.
He's probably a director or C level at Lux, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Well, that's like the CEO of Boeing when he was in front of like Congress and stuff. The guy was like, "How much do you make a year?" He goes, "It's disclosed." And he goes, "I'll just save everyone the trouble. It is 32 million sound right?" And he goes, "That sounds about right." He goes, "So in that, like, what do you do?" And he was like, I run Boeing on a day-to-day operation." He goes, "Well, in your tenure, you've been called in front of Congress for falsifying this, doing this, doing that." Stuff. He goes, "So what exactly do they pay you for?"
Oh, no.
He goes, "It's a 54% increase over last year."
Oh, no. That's even, damn. Oh, he was doing his job because they're all rich.
He goes, "Well, they got sued for like the Alaska Airlines ship, like the door flying open, or the emergency exit flying open."
They're like, cool, it's just a little lawsuit.
Yeah.
But this guy's been a CEO of Whistlepig for 10, I think they said, and he was pursuing other opportunities.
That sounds like the most amicable way of putting it.
It just sounds to me like, hey, I don't know that we're heading in a great direction.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I have no idea how Whistlepig's doing at all. I know premium whiskey's down. I know that.
Premium whiskey is definitely down.
And they're definitely a premium brand.
Everyone is definitely burnt out on paying $100+ a bottle on
for
stuff.
every bottle.
Well, 100 seems like a bargain on a lot of stuff now, honestly. A lot of LEs and whatnot, you're looking 250, 200, 300, whatever.
Yeah.
And not everyone's willing to scratch that anymore.
So yeah, every CEO from all these companies is leaving. So
whiskey's doomed is what we're saying.
That's what's happening right now in whiskey.
Cheers.
Barrel market's coming down. It's great for us. There seem to be barrels everywhere, but it's hard to find good ones.
If you guys buy our stuff, it's good for you too, because our prices aren't changing.
We started at the height of pricing, and thank God it's coming down. So